Mike's gone live. We need to replace that picture.
It's perfectly little,
It's so
little black and white.
stoic looking.
Or some camp. Okay, so we should be good now. Can you hear me now? All right, good. Oh, look at everybody's head announcing. God, I'm the ruler of the universe. Okay, now stand up. Now sit down. No, stand up. No, sit down.
Nobody moved. Well, Beth did.
No. We're just playing with you, right? Well,
you know, it is what it is.
All right. Well, actually, we're here to explore a topic that's extremely relevant in terms of the times we're in. The whole frame of what's our relationship with existence right now may become actually a critical conversation relative to be able to know what the hell is truth and what's not untruth, what's not truth. So there's this kind of dilemma that we all are in the midst of, especially those of us in the United States, which seems to be, I guess, the one country that had the farthest to fall. So I think the dramatic evidence of what's been happening here is kind of like a warning tale for the rest of the world.
No, it's just us. It's called humility.
Yeah, it's called, waking up to the peril, waking up to the ignorance that has been running this country. They're trying to keep it in place, and it's no longer holding. And it's true for all things. You take a plane, you fly it fast enough, it starts exceeding its design limit, things start falling apart. And what is the design limit? Well, it's obviously the fact that us human beings have emerged out of the mud, first as reptiles and then other kinds of creatures, and so all this is built on an edifice of mud. And without some including and incorporating and learning from the error that it inevitably creates, we end up in a hell of a situation. Now, this is inevitably how human beings do it. Even on the spiritual path, we leap ahead of ourselves in the process of our inspiration or our awakening or our aspiration. And we find out all that in us that is not yet ready for that. So, yeah. I mean, this is how we do it as a species. They throw the first fish up onto the dry land. It can't breathe in water anymore. It was suffocating in water. It came up to dry land. It can't quite breathe the air either. So, it's kind of the peril that we find ourselves in. We've leaped beyond our actual capacity to hold it. So part of this has to do with us knowing our limits, us actually being able to be questioning enough, looking at some of the assumptions that may be shaping our ability to perceive peril or risk or error. And in order to be able to move into the right relationship with existence. So it comes right down to your relationship with yourself. Because in fact, the problem of humanity is each one of us. The issues of any transition affects each one of us. And it is clearly evidence of a cohesive design that holds the frame in which humanity is the most loud, noise, awake aspect of. And this unfolding of this process of leaping forward beyond its limits is an endless cycle, which Sri Aurobindo was the first to recognize that this was When Darwin came up with evolution, he was the first one to convert it into spirituality. Because up to now, spirituality was a static thing. Up to him, it was a static thing. It was a thing in which there were very specific limits of what could happen and what couldn't happen and what was possible. But it was all trying to come to something that never changes, which, by the way, has the truth. But it left out the whole creation, which is always changing. It was Sri Aurobindo who saw that it's possible that there's a relationship between the creation and evolution and this eternally unchanging static principle in which something very much more true and more powerful and more capable in terms of the evolution could occur. And that which allowed for that translation between this static, eternal, ever, never changing, imperishable one truth, and this ever-changing, incredibly diversified chaos of the endless becoming of matter. We are the intermediaries. Each one of us are the means by which this opportunity he saw, and in my experience, it's absolutely like the basic, foundational, basic recognition of what it is that had awakened me and has brought me and many of you to this place of the opportunity of being a human being in these times. So this is what I want to kind of explore into, because the most critical part of this is for each of you. In whatever relationship you have right now, with the place you are, with your circumstances, with these times. And I know some of you are in Europe, and some of you are in Australia, and some of you are here and there all over the world, not just the United States, that you are being affected. It's affecting you. Are you aware of it's affecting you? I mean, that may vary, but the principle is we're all being affected, because the fact is we're all interconnected. We're all interdependent. What happens in the collapse of the United States is going to have an impact that will ripple out to every other country. And in that, there is something we share. And it's not just this political disruption, apparent political, but social, economic. But even greater behind it is a collapsing of the very thing that allowed evolution in the first place. And relative to peril, that's about as perilous as you can get. So what can we do with ourselves? Can you go out and protest and try to create a new movement? And nope. Because if it's going to collapse, whatever you do is going to be aligned with collapse. You've got to be able to come from a different paradigm. And this is why this work can only speak to people who are already awake. Because your awakening opens a whole capacity to come into existence that's different, that allows for you to become an instrument, a channel for the ultimate shift that has to occur in consciousness in order for a new ordering to come out of the period of disruption, just depending how far we fall before that period gets established. So we're working in the idea of this whole idea of what spirituality has become into creating a new paradigm for spiritual living. We're creating a new way of recognizing why you're here, why you're on the planet, why you awoke. You say, well, me? Well, wait a second. That was my little, I just wanted to be free of my misery. I just want to have what other people were having spiritually. I just wanted to fit in and feel like I had a place that's outside of the chaos of my life. Nope. It just won't last, because there's a different reason you're here. As a matter of fact, that whole awakening process actually evolves. It too evolves. If you look at it, everything here, even awakening, is an evolution. Why? Because it's happening within the evolution, because nothing else evolves. Duh. So we have a role to play. You have a role to play. And what is this role? It's to awaken further. Now, how do you awaken further? Yeah. And those of you who've been with me have heard this before. You have to awaken to what you've awakened to so that you can see more clearly what you've awakened from. Duh. Right? You turn up the light, you see more clearly, and then you can actually get rid of the cockroaches. You can begin to, replenish the rot in the corners. You can begin to see that you need a bigger house. That whatever may be the means will become apparent, not through trying to change the pieces of the problem, not by using your partial awakening to try to solve the problem, but to shift the paradigm in which the problem arises. And the first problem is you, us. We're the first problem. Why? Because unwittingly we're perpetuating the error that is brought the peril. Right now you're using electricity and fossil fuels are supplying much of it, most of it. You drive in your cars, right? Unless you happen to have an electric car, you're still using the very thing that's continuing the threat to the evolutionary opportunity of mankind, or maybe all of existence, who knows? So the way to start is to question yourself, is to begin to have a place to stand in your awakening where you return to that which you've awakened from in order to come into a more intimate relationship with that, which is usually not something you want to be in an intimate relationship with. Nobody wants to find out their own ignorance. No self-respecting ego wants to be humiliated. You don't want to experience shame. You don't want to experience your anger. You don't want to experience your violence. You don't want to experience your judgment. You don't want to experience your complaints. You don't want to experience any of that, and yet you do. So what is it that's keeping these things in place in your life? What is it that is shaping the capacity of taking your awakened state and using it to awaken your unawakened states, your unawakened conditions of beings, both from your past, your recent past, your present? What is it you're carrying with you that is still asleep, that still separates you from what you're awakening to? Which, by the way, becomes the advantage of becoming aware of what you're waking from. In fact, there's a reciprocal relationship between what we're awakening to and what we're awakening from. And the way we awaken from, we become awake to it. The powerful means of doing that, the powerful means of awakening to what we are awakening from, is the application of our intelligent attention, self-inquiry. It uses the best of us Western people who have had so damn many years of education, most of us, that we actually have some natural powers, capacity to attend and to learn and to discover and to find out and to be curious. This power of attention is one of our human powers. And this power allows us to go into territory that otherwise we wouldn't go into unless we knew there was something there. Now, the curious thing about this something there is that when you actually discover that something that you didn't want to be with, something extraordinary happens. You find treasure. You find preciousness. You find things you never thought were locked up. You begin to know your purpose. You begin to know why you're here. You begin to discover, oh, all this stuff I didn't want to know, all this stuff I wanted to wake up out of and escape, is actually a whole rich domain of knowing and experiencing. We find the treasure. So once we know it's there, we can take our intelligence and begin to inquire, where is it still here for me? Where am I still being run by the rejection from someone who I want attention from, who didn't want me in their life? My traumas of my relationship with my parents or my siblings or my playmates or my schoolmates or my workmates or whoever I made important in my life that I loved or that I felt threatened by or that I wanted to be with. And we begin to discover the part of the incapacity that still you carry that prevents you to be in touch with the reason you're alive. So those are the first two questions. Who am I? Which is an exploration, a diving into who is this person called me? What is its nature? What's trustworthy? What's not? What is it that I've lived with and taken for granted as like how it is that actually I have a choice about? Does this thing in me that judges others and judges myself, is that like a forever kind of thing? Or can I find some place in myself where judgment is not the problem? I can find discernment rather than judgment, objectification of the reactivity of my judgment, the ability to see, oh, well, there is usefulness in evaluation, but not in judgment, because it's coming from a place of avoidance or control or domination or fear or shame. See, useful shit. And it is shit. And it's not our fault. We inherit it when we got bodies, but it's still defining what's possible for us. So there are these four questions, and what it is that asks this question is your awakened self. You are the one, no one else. If you read other people's books and you get solace in the recognition that they're talking about something that you know you need to know, but you don't know how to know it, and it doesn't stick, and you don't apply it into your life, if you don't make it important, if you don't assign value, by the way, that's another power of attention, is what you attend to, you assign importance to. And when you assign importance to, it becomes the thing that grows in what it is, in revealing its nature. So it depends what you're attending to. If you're attending to the habit of your negativity, then of course you're empowering and keeping that well in place. If you're attending to this new possibility of being able to see that pattern in yourself in a different paradigm than being the victim or being run by it, then you begin to dismantle its authority that you've unwittingly given it over the course of your life. So this power of attention actually defines what's important, becomes important in your life. So the little things that were always there in the habit of you as a person and trying to get comfortable, trying to feel safe, trying to feel secure, trying to feel gotten, trying to get what it wants, become secondary to this greater importance of discovering your true nature that is in the context of why am I here? Which is the second question. Why are you here? Question I presented at the beginning of this conversation. Why are you here right now? What is it that's brought you to this conversation? What's there with you right now, right? You're aware that you're there, right? You're in your body. Good. Anybody not in your body, raise your hand. Okay. That would be an honest statement, by the way, if you did raise your hand. I know that's the case a lot of time. But it's useful to be aware right here, right now, that you're a you with all these characteristics and you're a here now. Well, the big question is, why are you here? Now that's the third question. It leads us to the third question. Who am I? Why am I here? And the third question is, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of life? I've got to tell you, these are related, very directly related. You've got to own what it is that brings you here. What's your agenda? What's your expectation? What's your hope? What's your wish, your belief? What is it that you heard from somebody else and you want to check it out to see if it's true? Right? Why are you here? Opens up to the very question, why are you questioning? What is it that has a question? What is it that shows up with a reason why you're somewhere? What is the whole thing? See, they all are very related, because the more you become in touch with the fact that you have been born into the middle of this condition of which all of humanity has been born into and is continually being born into and born out of, another way of saying it, dying, you begin to discover that there's a design, or there's a thread, or there's something that has been living you all along, that has brought you to this, why you're here, that there is this purpose. Now, maybe it's your purpose right now. You just know it is your purpose. Yes, I awakened, and I spent all my years since I've awakened to try to make it more real for me, to try to discover what it means. I've tried this and I've tried that. And, and I kind of keep finding myself stuck in some structures. And therefore, I'm looking elsewhere to find the solution, not recognizing that the solution lies in you, not out of you. So this whole looking outward, that's the human ego taking over the spiritual quest, and then it becomes a desire and ambition to have something that you imagine you don't already have and think somebody else is going to do it for you. And we end up in this dilemma. We know why we're here, but we don't know how to get there. We don't know how to move aligned with the whole reason. There's a why I am here, and there's a I am whining. Yeah, notice whining versus whining. Our favorite other activity is whining, not just searching what to watch tonight. So whining's a step in the right. Whining, finding your whining. How come I'm not getting it what I want? How come they get it more than me? How come I'm not more realized than I am? Whining, 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 whining. Where does whining go? See my finger? Like whining a string of I can't do it. There's no meaning, there's no purpose. Wrapping a ball of twine, creating the structure of, well, give up, it's hopeless. I'm exhausted. I don't care. Just get through the day. Get home. I haven't been eating. It's been a good day. That's where whining gets you. That's what complaints get you. That's what finding other problems with other people gets you. That's why finding problems with yourself, diminishing yourself, gets you. Whining, whining, whining. Tying yourself up into a tangle until you don't need a straitjacket. You've done it yourself. So we have to have a context larger. We have to have a sense of how to hold this whole thing. That's a start point. That takes us to the first three questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? And we're going to talk about the fourth question. How do I live? You could say that everything I teach is how to live your awakening. Everything I teach is pointing to the path that will take you out of this self-perpetuating loop entanglement, that will begin to not only take you out of it, but begin to unwind the whining patterns that wind you in the first place. The complaint, the dissatisfactions, the doubt, the questioning, the suspicion, the distrust, right? What are those? That's the predicament. Because we can't really do anything within that context except a different variation of the whine. And maybe the whine is a temporary happiness. That's part of what keeps us whining. It's the carrot. It's just outside of our reach as we were whining. Maybe this will be it. Maybe that'll be it. Maybe it'll be this relationship. Maybe it'll be that new teacher. Maybe it'll be something else. I'll do another program. Do another program with Shree until I'm programmed out. Right? Some of you are there. Sometimes you just have to exhaust the squirrel in the cage, right? They just have to. There's a carrot and there's me. And then maybe the squirrel says, who wants the carrot? But I get the idea the carrot was something important. Maybe I'll just rest here. And then you're getting somewhere. You're stepping back from being the unwitting motor that keeps your squirrel cage and the chasing of the possibility. It starts losing its momentum. All your desiring, all your ambition, the next thing, let's go shopping, let's do this, let's do that. It starts like, oh, fuck, again? I got to pay the credit card off again? Let me just rest here. Bottom of the cage, still kind of rocking back and forth. Then you're somewhere, actually. Because then you can begin to withdraw your attention to that which you previously made important. Also to that which you unwittingly made important. Right? What's an unwittingly important thing? Mm-hmm. Your resentment, how wrong they are, your rightness. See, there's something about the design that even when you get hip to it and you stop running the route, right? The whining, you still don't have a place to go. You don't have a means by which anything can get better. And that's why so many spiritual teachers said, give up, take your little piece of bliss, your little piece of transcendence, your little meditation, and just take it all to the cabin and avoid all this other stuff as much as possible. Right? It doesn't change anything because all that's still there. And all that whining chords will follow you like perfumes that follow the source of the soul when it leaves and when it comes again. All your whining, you'll carry along a string of all these whinings and you'll bring them to your next life and your next life and your next life and your next life, as you have already, by the way. And you forget everything every time you take a birth. So all the odds are against you. Until you discover that everything you've ever sought, everything that was ever possible, laid inherent within yourself already. That you are your goal. You are the very quality that could know the goal. You are that which has lived you all along in all those lives. And what is that? The thing you'll find out at some point, you'll find out that your that is this everywhere. My that and that this is the same thing everywhere. And now that is a discovery. But that discovery has a tremendous, powerful effect on the habit of your whining and the habit of your seeking and the habit of your desiring and the structures of your habit of your conditioning as a human being. It has this blasting effect. It has this thing where literally chunks of the whining fade away and there is just gratitude. There's just immediacy. There's just aliveness with the sense of this possibility of coming into existence more fully as an awakening and becoming spiritual being, discovering the full depths of what you already are, the treasure house, the final abode, everything the Gita speaks of is already there within you. and you're running every place else. Your mind's running, your emotions are running, your life is running. Movement, 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 movement for movement's sake. If I don't move, I'm dead. We don't know how to die. We have to learn how to stop. Stop it. Stop chasing. Stop getting. Stop having. Stop being right. Stop whining. Stop bullshitting yourself. Stop believing the lie. Stop making a case just to make a case. Stop it. What happens? The whole thing that keeps the ball together, it starts falling apart. You don't have to go and unwind your whining, because that'll take, you'll have plenty to whine about in unwinding your whining, because it won't get anywhere. You have to stop, and in the stop, you cut the habit. You cut the pattern. And how do we do that? By how we live. And that's the great question. How do I live? Our actions in this dimension, as a person, an awakened person, in your life, are the means by which we fulfill the purpose of our existence, or not. It's the means by which we perpetuate the error that we've been habituated to, and our family members have been habituated to, and our ancestors have been habituated to, and all that other habituated to stuff. We discover that we're the one responsible for how life shows up for us. We discover that actually we are creating whatever suffering or ignorance, either through perpetuation, compliance, submission, ignorance. And when we begin to find that we are doing this, we begin to discover that we can undo this. Not by undoing outer life, but undoing inner life. By undoing our relationship with existence, where it's no longer being shaped by what has shaped it previously. We're all in this journey, by the way. I'm still in this journey of unwinding as an individual person. I am still in the discovery of where I still get shaped in moments of stress or in moments of where I am between two worlds, where I'm most vulnerable. And I discover bits and pieces of me that, I didn't know was there or was not something that had been affecting me for some time. But I do know that I am in a continuous transformational stream, as is many people right around me. So therefore, these periods of vulnerability and obviously whining come up, but they don't have any grip. They show up and then they fall away. There is a difference when we put ourselves into the stream of this evolutionary purpose of our own awakening, where the error and the habit of this past just starts not leaving the residue that it did before. Instead of being upset and angry and resentful for months or years, it lasts for a couple of weeks or a few days, or it's there and then you forget about it. You could just say that at some point you just forget to be an ego. You forget to keep it up. You just lay there in the bottom of the cage and said, all right, I'm still rocking. I'm still rocking. Something's rocking me. Well, that's because it's still a squirrel in a cage, still in the world, still in the becoming. So it'll always shake your fishbowl. Yeah, fishbowl. Something is shaking your fishbowl. So, it's true that our subjective recognition of a truth makes it real. Our subjectivity is the one who determined this happened versus that happened as a bound human being. That subjectivity it's almost useless because it's just part of the error. It's all subjective. But there is a subjectivity that comes when we clarify the content of what we have been entrapped in or absorbed in and have awakened, there is a subjectivity that begins to perceive things far beyond what you could perceive before. It begins to experience far beyond what it could experience before. It begins to recognize, to realize, to be in the revelatory condition where, oh, that is what's happening, and that's its purpose, and that's what I thought it was, and that's what I made of it, and that's what I projected. Oh, look at all that. I was doing all of that. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. That's coming to cause. This coming to cause is the recognition of our own contribution to the problem. And who pays the price? We do. You do. I do. It doesn't make any difference if the world remains unchanged. As a matter of fact, most of it will always remain like it is, because that's how evolution is. It works to take the base of that, which is not changing, and start using that to keep expanding a possibility. That sliver of expanding possibility of evolution has been why it took billions of years to create a human being, because it's so narrow. But when we awaken, when we become a transmuted being, when we find the relationship with our body and our emotional nature, our physical nature, our mental structures, our projections, and all the things that run us, we actually start opening the possibility for humanity. Each of us, one at a time. We begin to open up a possibility for evolution that nature couldn't do herself. We begin to open a door for something to unfold that hasn't happened before. But we do it by meeting the challenge, meeting ourselves as individual people with all your shit and all your good things and all your genius and all the other little things that you carry with you as the constellation of aggregation of your personal self. We use that to be the means by which we serve a greater purpose than would possibly be apparent if we hadn't entered into the depths of the possibility you already are and the powers you already carry. So the 4 questions are simply a frame, a languaging. It's not the only 4 questions, of course. You could have any kinds of questions, but less questions the better for the most part. The idea that by knowing who you are, to know the who you are, you can't know the who from within the who. It's just going to be a different version of the who, looking at the who, depending upon what version of the who you're caught up in at that point. It's like musical chairs. It's whoever's sitting in the knower position. It could be your bad mood, your good mood, seeing clearly, not seeing clearly, determines what the who is. It's the vantage point we take. A bad mood, it's all bad. It's always been bad. It'll never be better. And the good mood, it's always been good. It's better than ever it's been, and it's going to be just more good, right? We don't recognize that the fact is that we've been looking through lenses all this time. That us, we've had in the good moods and bad moods, it's still the same perceiver. They're just veiled through the lens of the mood, of the current cycle your life is, the guna cycle or the astrological cycle or a season, or if you're in a relationship or not, or if you're working or not, or it's stressful or not, that cycle of your life. And you begin to perceive that there's something else that was here all along that doesn't change. And that can be in a new relationship with existence, and in fact, can choose to do so. And that's one of our other powers, to choose something we wouldn't otherwise choose. Inherent in all human beings. Men go to war, women go to war. They choose a situation where they could die or they would have to kill. So they chose that. And in that process, undoubtedly, as human beings, they evolve. They get out of the enthusiasm of shooting and killing and having a gun and having a big machine to drive and being part of a big machine that threatens to control the world. and they get to feel part of that power by playing their little piece. And they realize, God, the outcome of this is the end of the world. God, who would want that? So you get wise by going out down these avenues of your choices, and eventually you begin to start choosing wisely. This ability to learn by living is too far unvalued. The wisdom that comes to a human being, having done it wrong enough, owning where it was wrong, whatever that may be, and recognizing the rightness that the wisdom brings. That brings the forgiveness, that brings the appreciation, that brings the recognition that we're all in this together and everyone's doing the best they can, trying to bring forward something that we don't, most of us, almost all of us, aren't even aware of, in whatever best way we know, including the worst way you could possibly do it for some. There'll always be people who choose the darkness and those who choose the light. All of you are here to choose the light, but some of you are choosing the light to avoid the dark, right? One of the great challenges for me was my addiction. And I discovered that I had a drug addiction. Alcohol didn't do it, it was drugs. And the drug addiction became my life. I became an instrument of it. I robbed, stole, lied, cheated, anything to get it. It became such an organizing principle, and I didn't want to do anything else. I woke up for it. I did it. This is all I wanted to do. How to get it fixed today? How do I get this? How do I get enough money to get this in the future? How do I make any of this? That was my whole more organizing principle. And all this time, the only thing I'm doing that I really, really like to do is draw. I'm drawing with this little ink pen, and I have this kind of fluid kind of way of drawing where it gets more and more intricate, and I play off of one line into another. And one day, I finally went out after my speed high. And when I woke up, and I thought just before I went out, I said, this is it. This is my manuscript. This is the best work of art I've ever done. And when I woke up in the morning and I went to look for it because I was feeling pretty bad. I needed a lift. It was all black. There was nothing you could see. And it was like, fuck. This is false. This goes nowhere. Why was I thinking? I wasn't, obviously. I was being driven unwittingly by a beast I had opened up to. And I'd gone from a high into a low, and I was reveling in the low, not recognizing it was no longer the high. And when everybody started dying around me, and when I would go and visit friends and they had roommates that they spent the whole day getting a fix and throwing knives in their door, I knew something was off. And in that recognition, I said, fuck, I'm in trouble. I literally didn't feel I had any strength to do anything. There was no possibility. I didn't know. I thought I would just die. That's what I thought. I wasn't thinking if my body was so bad at that point, I thought I would physically die. And then I found Meher Baba, right? Bottom of the pit. There was this jewel, this book called God Speaks, sitting on a table. And that little jewel became a doorway of my early first awakening that allowed me to recognize I was the problem more deeply and allowed me to start changing how I lived. Pulling away from the pull of my old patterns, which include rage, which I hadn't discovered yet, and all these other vigorous sort of things that I had been doing in the negative domain, and owning them and not acting on them. And instead, I made a conscious decision to do good, to be good, to do the right thing, even when no one was looking, to give a gift, to be generous, to sacrifice something. I mean, I was looking for those opportunities. I got a job. I was delivering medical supplies to different hospitals. One of my first jobs coming out of this addiction. And they had all the tools and chemicals that I would have begged for and paid lots of money for, right there free. Every day I had to restrain the part of me that said, just a few, just in case, that kind of thing. And eventually, by not acting on it, it lost its power, but not only by not acting on it, but by choosing positive action. I began to break out of the enthrallment in that entire vantage point that I was locked in and began to live a life. I soon found my first wife, and not long after that, had a child, went to school, all the rest of it came out of that moment. So it is an evolutionary accelerant when I recognized that I was the problem. The who am I revealed itself, and the what in my wake woke up. And that became a power to create a new relationship with existence. Now that's a radical situation, and that's the benefit of peril, is obviously you've got, it's life or death. No life, or a possible life, or an unknown possible life. If I had been more ridden by fear, more ridden by hatred, more ridden by some of the more tamasic negative energies, perhaps I wouldn't have come out. I would have been like many of my peers, dead or in prison. So out of this came an architect. Out of this came a husband, a father. Out of this came this. So obviously, it's possible. It's possible to choose how you live as aligned with your awakening. Now, the thing I've got is I never stop. I never stop seeing the peril of the remaining ignorance, the remaining incapacity to see the fullness of the manifestation of which now I'm aware of, fully aware of, and what its role is in the collective consciousness. As a matter of fact, it wasn't 2 years ago until I really recognized that this peril of the climate is the peril that is going to kill or awaken mankind. It's the same as the drug addiction that we have to gasoline, to fossil fuels. So it's become, I've grown up to, we're having these kinds of programs. We're having these kinds of conversations. And in the process, what's happened is I've become an instrument for something much more than I ever imagined I would be. I've not lost my personhood. There are many parts of my personhood that has served, but I have become a means by something greater to come through. So my life is a demonstration of what I teach. It's not just the Bhagavad Gita or Sri Aurobindo or Sri Atmananda or Mara Baba. It is my direct lived life. When we start living our life aligned with our awakening becomes more and more established. It becomes more and more capable. It is able to dive into areas of darkness, greater and greater darkness. It can begin to see and move into relationship to the underbelly of the collective consciousness. It can maneuver through the arenas that would otherwise overtaken a less established integrated consciousness. They call it a satsang for a reason. It's a song of the sought. They named it before I came around, but it is what it always has been, truth speaking, sitting with truth. What is the truth? It's what you already are. It is this very quality of you that's attending to this right now. That's being overwhelmed or by experiencing or feeling the recognition or feeling the nature of the revelation that's coming as your own experience. It's the part of you that is sensing the possibility of our gathering, the ability to bring more truth, more true knowing, more love, less separation, more interconnection, more purpose. That's what you, each of you. So that's what I'd like to do now. I'd like to open it up to you. 4 questions. Who are you? Why are you here? What's the purpose of life? How are you living? How do you live? You can have questions about those. You can have sharings. You may have something you want to bring and add to this conversation. I would invite you to do so. So if there's any of you here that are new or relatively new, then I invite you to come up first. Just to show up, just so I can say hi. Right? Then we'll see what happens.
Okay, we have a question. We have a question from somebody
Okay.
on Meta on Crowdcast. So I don't know if she's on Zoom, but I'll just read it.
She's not on Zoom.
Okay, how can you use the body as a purpose of life finder? What are the signs?
Say the question again.
How can you use the body as a purpose of life finder? What are the signs?
Oh, good. The body's like the compass. The body can learn to know true north. The body can be a sensing instrument. When it's not just that we awake our minds, or even if we kind of purify and true our vital nature, our emotional nature, but the body itself, because of its simple design, because itself, it holds the fabric of the content you awaken from, you can discover in your body information about the nature of what is the right action and what is not the right action, what is aligned and what is not aligned. So the body becomes your compass. It says yes, no. And then your job with your compass is to say, is the no true? Is the yes true? This questioning of the body's knowing is useful because the body is really childlike. When it's purified, when it's open, it becomes very childlike. It'll embrace everything, good or bad. And it may not have the ability to discern the good or bad of anything. You may see something good and it ends up to be bad and it ends up in shit. So this bringing forward our intelligence, our intelligent discrimination, to verify, okay, body, okay, you got a reaction right there in the gut, right? Or right there in the diaphragm. Okay, I got it. All right, let me see. It's saying no, it's saying resist, it's saying, I don't want to feel this, okay? The body is saying that. Now, it's true for the body in that moment. It's not untrue. That's the body's truth. It's the immediacy of the pleasant and the unpleasant experiences. It's the immediacy of that visceral kind of reaction. Now, it can be also very blissful. When the body is open, the other side will say, beautiful, lovely, oh, God. And there's the other side, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to be with it. So the body in itself is simply a sensor, much like a compass. So you got a compass that points north, but maybe you need to go west. So your body's pointing to a pointer that lets you know if that's where to go or not. So, but how can you make the body a more effective instrument for you? Well, part of it is you're becoming aware of it. You got to get in touch with your body. You got to find out all those unlived, unmet parts in the body that the body is holding the repository. It's the library of you. It's the archives of you. It's all those files that got compressed, and they live in your kidney, and they live in your left knee, and they live in the back of your neck, and there are all these compressed files that the body carries of the archive of you, not just this life, but what you caught in. You brought in compressed files this lifetime, and you planted some of them in your body. Depending upon if you manifested them or not, they just sat latent or they got expressed. So these are good and bad stuff. It has this good, bad, or neutral. There can be any of those impressions. So the body is a repository of information about how you've related to existence previously and how you defined, how you gave your power away to other people. It's stored in your body. the times you were burned at the stake. It's a fire that renders through your body when you start experiencing it. When the body opens up, it becomes a sensor, visceral sensor for events and experiences that have no languaging. Body doesn't language. It has a different kind of talking, a different kind of language than even the emotional body, or certainly the mental body and all the thoughts, its theories and projections and imaginings. So it is visceral, it's felt. It knows it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't know why it's uncomfortable. It knows that it has a pain, and the pain is excruciating, and you can't meditate. And you don't know how to meditate while you have this pain going on, unless you hear Shree that says, okay, enter into the pain, expand into the pain, let the pain be, include the pain. And then at some point you say, fuck, it's working, but I don't like it. So I don't want to include the pain. I don't want to have any pain. So just make it all go away. No, that's cheating. You've got to learn how to embody by meeting your body shit. You got to meet the reactions and the structures, because really that's how you awaken the body, because when you're there, it pays attention. Oh, look at my occupying consciousness is paying attention to me. The cell becomes happy and opens up. It becomes like glad. Oh, you notice finally. Let me tell you my story. And then that's your pain in your gut. And that's why you can't control your bowels. And that's why, it responds to your attention. And therefore, maybe it gets louder before it dissolves, right? It's all this suppressed experience locked up in these archives and these compressed files of your body. So you got to learn how to cover the territory of your embodiment. The body is the means by which the battle can be converted from adharma to dharma, to that which is not aligned with the purpose of existence, to that which is aligned with the purpose of existence. And the paradox about this is nothing needs to change outwardly, but the context changes in which it arises for you. And therefore, a whole new possibility comes possible. And there is something that can come utterly different than what was the precondition. The body is the most powerful instrument of divine on the planet. The human body is the most miraculous, incredibly multidimensional, interconnected vehicle that has ever been created in this creation. Every fabric of this creation is interrelated with every other fabric, and every other piece of it is relatively degree of dependency on every other piece. The body holds that whole macroism in the microism of what you've been living in all these years. It carries the entire mystery, the whole archives of ever been written through ever impressions and experiences of every kind of creature and beast and aspect of existence. It's all here. We're made of the stuff of stars. We have vast space. We're mostly water. We have the oceans, the skies, the rivers, the forests, the mountains, the earth. It's all here. So when we begin to operate in collaboration with our body, we begin to discover the very fabric and structure of the very matrix that has both held things in place, preventing them from changing, and also at times opened up opportunities for true evolution, for true change, for true shifts. And it's quite a kick, by the way, to have a body that's fully awake. Mostly because at that point, your body's fully awake, there is no poison and there is no nectar. They're both a form of nectar. Everything becomes available. The fear structures, the habits of preference, the attractions, repulse fall away until just the immediacy. So the body allows for freedom in life. It allows you to be in life and not diminished by it. It allows you to be in life in the fullness of the opportunity of life unfolding for as long as it lasts, in whatever version of it is showing up in your day, your moment of your day. So awakening the body has a number of principles, right? You know that one, there's you can become aware of your body. You can be paying attention to these things. But there's another thing that happens when the body itself starts awakening. The body carries an intelligence. That's the same intelligence as the world mother. It carries the intelligence that has organized the entire evolutionary purpose. It comes from a visceral place. So when the body awakens, what's awakening automatically becomes real. Because it is what's real. It's not what you thought it was. It's not that you were what you were ignorant of. It's not that what you've been veiled from knowing. It is what's already here. The miraculous unfolding of the possibility of consciousness in matter. This play between these forces of spirit and these forces of matter wake up in our bodies. We become the medium. We become the place of reconciliation. We become the UN meeting room where all the different countries gather together and try to resolve the problems. We become the Lord of the process of the unfolding of the opportunity human beings are in existence. Is that enough about the body? Any more questions?
Yeah, you got some up there.
Okay, good. Let's go. Let's see where we
Okay.
are.
Next up is Beth.
Hello, Beth. Namaste. Welcome. Wow, I see your keyboard like a playing field.
Haven't figured out my system yet. You answered a lot. From my perspective, I'm trying to find my way in. And I feel that I am the observer in a lot, almost my whole life navigating from that
Awareness. Yeah. You're looking, you're the witness, you're
Yes,
the awareness.
everything.
Yep.
And as you were talking, a big part of my journey, and I've had a lot of stuff, was trying to ground, which didn't align with me. You know, grounding, I understand being in La La Land and being in the ethers of La La Land. But, you know, when a couple years ago, when I understood the term of embodiment, it made sense. Okay. And I said, why didn't anybody say embodiment? And they were like, Beth, people don't know what that is. But it was a first point of understanding that I could do.
Very good.
And then, not so long ago, understanding me is to bring it here in the body. So the body, and I don't have much connection with the physical much. And I've come a long way. So I guess I always speak in terms of frequency. So the physical, I've been on the journey for a long time to find within me what needs to be cleared. I understand and I understand. So am I breaking down the physical aspect right now to a different frequency? And so that I don't know if it merges. I don't know where my being goes with that, but if I break it down and make the physical frequency clean and in a higher vibration so we can merge. Is it just, it's a co-creation? Who's the lead? Is it, you just said the physical body has its thoughts. Does it support the knowingness? Does that make sense?
No, I understand, Beth, fully. I mean, it's a very common predicament. But
Okay.
your question is, or what your statement was, I'm trying to find my way in. That is the most powerful thing you just did in your awareness. I mean, it's an expression of your purpose, actually.
Mhm.
You're learning your purpose, your organizational principle is I know who I am. I am aware of my own awareness. I am self-aware. I'm awakened. I'm looking to come here. I'm looking to be here in this body, in this life more fully than this awareness has allowed me to do. I sense, or I directly know, or at least I'm informed of the possibility of what embodiment means, so that you have now set in motion a process that will begin to show you what embodiment truly is. And now there are guaranteed territory of this you have never wanted to go into. Pain, discomfort, inability to sleep, physical symptoms. Once you bring a force behind you, once you say that prayer, I'm looking for a way in, to someone who can receive that prayer, you open a door to a possibility you couldn't open yourself. And you just did.
I have before. I mean, I have pains and like big shifts. I just came through 3 days, 4 days, 104 fever, and I knew I was rewiring within my system.
Okay.
So
There
is
you
that-
go.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. So it's embodiment is usually starts with what we don't want to meet in our bodies. So it is, they're usually locked, like I said, the body's the archive. So the time you were abused as a child, the time someone threatened you, or a time you felt deeply diminished and you were angry and resentful but couldn't express it, they're locked in your body. There are these patterns of adaptation as a woman in the world, a pattern of adaptation as a mother or a person in the world trying to establish yourself. There are these fear structures, these desire structures, these anger structures, these resentment structures are all embedded in your gut, in your diaphragm, in your second chakra, in your first chakra, in your throat, in your heart, in the way you hold your body. Any of these can be entry points. You can go get Rolfing and you can begin to feel the releasing of a deep massage that goes right down into the visceral tissues. All of these begin to show something of the matrix of your embodiment that, though uncomfortable, bring a greater sense of being here, like a wisdom, like a groundedness, right? Evidence of embodiment is a stability in your relationship with existence. It's not so being blown this way and that way, needing to protect yourself as much. It's a more capable vessel, in which you discover you've got your hand on the rudder all along, you just haven't been directing it. And that whole coming to responsibility to your own life and to the structures that are still hidden in you is what these 4 questions are pointing to, so that you can stay in an evolving relationship with existence outside of what you've already known. Knowing and experiencing, having in a relationship. If you know more than you experience, then the experience is small, the knowing's large. If you experience more than you know, then the experience is more and the knowing is less. So the idea is to bring those two to balance. So the experience has to catch up with your knowing. That's basically it. So your experience is here, your knowing's here. It has to catch up, but you can't make that happen. That's you kind of giving direction to something that can't receive your direction. You have to become aware of your body's talk. You have to become aware of what your body's saying right now. Like right now, what is it saying to you? Are you feeling something in your diaphragm? Are you feeling something in your belly? Go inward. Feel. Are you excited? Is there resistance? See there, you're looking in the right place. Then you bring yourself into present time in your body, and your body starts informing your awareness. And the two start coming together.
Okay.
Every moment of your life is this opportunity. The more you pay attention and you live inward, less outward, more inward, but inward in the engagement in life. You have to be in life. You have to be, in situations you don't control. You have to be in a work situation, a relationship situation, a place of disturbance, so that you can use your body as a means to show what's still there in you, that's not yet grounded, not yet established in her authority as a woman in the world.
So as in participating with people, because I pretty much am by myself a lot, and I have for a while. So it's engaging with the human.
There you go. Well, you just stepped right into this conversation, so good for you. Yeah, this was a leap.
Huh.
Have you been exposed to this? I don't believe I've seen you before. Have I met you before?
I'm exposed to a lot of things. DVO had told me about you, DVO Coleman.
Yeah.
And when I aligned, I navigate through your vibration. So it's a place where I feel safe.
Yes.
And I
right.
watch how you connect to the physical. That's
Yeah.
how I learn backwards, and I see that.
It's learning from top down. That's all. Instead of bottom up, it's top down.
Exactly. And
Okay.
I'm
So
amplified to just see what's there. You said something, and I have a wondering about a premature Kundalini awaken. And I have a feeling that might have been a situation with me. I don't know.
it's then, the symptoms of that is the avoidance of being in your body because it's a trauma, psychic trauma. Okay, good. So, you probably have that memory. You probably have it there somewhere.
And
It's
that's
in
all
your
clear. Just go back and find it.
Yes, but not like digging for it. Rather, let it show itself. You have the question, where is this trauma? And you feel into your body, and your body will point to you where it is.
Let my body tell me.
Your body. And much of it's in the diaphragm. As we're talking, much of it is in the diaphragm, which controls the issue of our vulnerability and our safety, security, our okayness. So that's probably a clue.
Okay.
And then out of that would be the anxiety that comes out of that and all the other things, which are just not anxiety, they're just energies. But you have to feel them in whatever form the body feels them in. And try not to let your awareness label it or jump into a reaction to it. Pause the reaction to it, the story about it. Like, I can't go there, or this is too much. Don't let that determine the unfolding of what you're experiencing. Because maybe you have to spend some time strengthening your ability to be in your body.
Physical, yeah.
Yes, before all of this. So you kind of vaccinate yourself, take steroids for a while or something until you get strong enough to be able to more fully meet it. So be gentle with yourself. It's also useful. So if you find it and it starts revealing itself, you might want to step back, like put your toe in and step back from it, not let it become overwhelming. So you find something positive, come back to yourself, your awareness, or something, a resource that brings you calmness or nurturance, and then step into it again. You step back not to avoid it, but to strengthen your ability to be with it.
Just get used to it. I do that with other things.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
There you go. All right, Beth. That was very rich. Thank you for coming forward. I really like this being in her keyboard.
Okay. Next up is Ishtar.
Ishtar,
Ishtar.
namaste.
Namaste.
Have I met you before?
No, I'm new.
Hey, welcome.
In Stockholm. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be taking part in this. And I've had an experience that's been with me all day as a memory today, and I've been listening when I've been in school. I've been listening to YouTube talks, listening to you. And so I thought if the opportunity comes, I'll ask, and here it is. So
Perfect.
a couple of years ago, or when I was like 23 or 24, until that moment, I had lived a pretty intense life, traveling the world, and I had a very clear image of who I was in this community that I was in, and it was pretty much it was kind of destructive until the end, and it ended in a way, or not ended, but I reached I reached a stage where I'd pushed myself too far. And then I came back home to Scandinavia, and I rested for like a month. I slept for a month. And then I woke up one morning and I didn't have any thoughts. I didn't have any thoughts, any opinions, nothing anymore. And then I remember this lasted for like a while, a couple of weeks or something. I couldn't really think or judge or anything. And and it was clear, and I saw every person in a new way, just like how they were. And this was very new to me, and also like my own identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. Everything was just like a memory. It was like a lifetime away. And after a while, it started to get a feeling of unease. Like I felt lonely. Like this is strange. I don't know how to move on in this. I remember I kind of forced myself into thinking again, into judging, into like like I kind of, it was like it was empty, and then I slowly started creating this activity in my mind until I got back into like, you know,
So how are you now?
so now it's very active in my mind. but I think I remember the feeling of being afraid of this change, of seeing everything so clear. And I don't know, maybe it's not relevant in this discussion, but I mean, there might be some sort of fear still of coming to a place.
Don't worry about it now. If fear goes, don't make an issue about fear going. There's nothing to fear with fear going, because it's a reflection of that was a true awakening, by the way, Isha. That was you, an awareness awakening, where you stepped out of your individual identity and you became the present awareness, which doesn't have a story. It isn't a girl or a guy. It's just a being in existence. So you shifted out of your embodiment. You shifted out of the story of you, the habit of you, all the rules of how you had to be, how you please your parents, how you had to keep up with other people, all that. Broke out of that, and you popped into your very self-existent self, that awakened being that was before that, well, caught up in it, popped out of it, and you began to see you were something else. So this is your true self. This is the true thing that you are. You're not a woman. You're not a young girl. You're not in school. All these things are secondary to your existence. So therefore, now you have the power of an awakened being. The power of the awakened being is to make choices not bound by the past, not bound by the paradigm that was there before you awakened. Now that's included. So what to do now is what you're doing. You're getting yourself informed. You're meeting myself. You're meeting the community of people. You're tapping into people who've been awakened for years. And their principle is that the young people that are awakening now, and you may see quite a few young people who are here that are actually mature in their awareness of themselves as a being, but not yet mature in bringing that into their lives consciously, purposefully, in order to become a vehicle or a channel that serves the world. So this is what I invite you to discover. And you can do that by simply continuing to listen to these talks, to continuing to be maybe joining in with some of the groups. Start finding out what you've become outside of comparing it to something of your old life. There's a whole nother domain of becoming as a spiritual being in a body that is now available to you. And that process is more important, although stay in the world, stay engaged like you are, to whatever extent that you can be, and use it as an opportunity to discover more and more how to live.
Ishtar, this is Satchamayi. Can you still access that state?
At times I can, yeah. And sometimes it's very easy.
Okay, good. So, I mean, you didn't know what happened. So I'm just going to project. So some fear came up for you. Am I correct? Yes,
Yeah.
so you wanted to go back to the way it was. So if you'd had the information then, but it doesn't matter, you've not lost it. So where are you living? Where do you live?
Like physically?
Yes, physically, where do you live?
Oh, even.
In where? In
In
Sweden?
Stockholm? Yeah.
Oh, you're in Stockholm. Do you know any of the other Stockholm people?
Yeah, Gabriel
Okay.
and Gabriel got me.
Okay, good. Okay, so you have a good, and then there's a huge group on today too, also from the Netherlands, from Holland. So you have a great support structure there. But this is great to meet you. And because I think the important thing is for you to know you haven't lost the state. You can go back.
And I think it's important to emphasize that I have a recommendation to everyone that you meditate 45 minutes twice a day, in the morning and the evening, because this will it'll keep you in connection to what you've awakened to, even in the midst of a busy life. So 45 minutes is important because 20 minutes it may allow you to get in touch, but it won't get established. The second 22 and a half minutes allows you to build a kind of a greater ease of access, so that next time you sit, you have some money in the bank when you first sit, and you can connect to yourself more readily, and you can go deeper, and you put a little more money in the bank. And after a while, this awakened part of you is with you all the time, even in the midst of life. So this practice of 45 minutes twice a day, just for you, just with yourself, just in your own beingness, to be aware of your breath and your body here now. You may go out, you may rest, you want to be comfortable. It's like a pause. Instead of waiting until you're exhausted and then take a month off from sleeping, you basically rest 45 minutes twice a day, independent of sleeping. That allows you to rest in what has come. Then what you have will just keep growing as you expand it into your life.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
forward.
Okay.
Okay, next up is KG.
Okay, welcome, KG. Is that what you want to be called, KG?
No, it's my initials. My first name is Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
we know
you.
Kimberly.
Yeah, there we go.
I
Yeah.
have comments because I really enjoyed the topics today, and they're very synchronous with what I'm going through myself. I noticed how much diminishment of the feminine that has been going on in the peril you spoke of with the earth, and our earth mother, same as the feminine that lives on this earth. And recently just took a divine feminine class of the goddesses, the Navratri celebration with Dr. Shamini Jain.
Mhm.
And so it was mantra of all the goddesses, which is wonderful.
That's cool.
Celebration of the
Yeah.
feminine, the divine feminine in India.
Divine feminine. Yes. Yeah.
It was wonderful. And I'm still using the mantras and trying to connect with the goddesses, that energy, whether they were real or not in the Vedas, not sure.
Doesn't make any difference. If you can feel it, it's as real as it needs to be.
And I do, it's amazing. But it made me aware of the misogyny in our community, the hatred of women.
Yeah.
I thought I was so enlightened, I could see so much. And when I saw that, I was kind of alarmed, but yet I knew my whole life has been a story of dealing with the battling of ego with, male ego, and then diminishing me, and then me get me knocked out of my space, then me not on my own path, and thinking my stuff I don't have is not that good anyway. So then I don't follow it, but then I feel empty and nothing, and nowhere to go, like you said. And so all of the topics were great and really addressed so much with me. And finding that place to open to myself and that constant dialogue, just listening
Yeah.
too, when I ask that self-inquiry is so important, because how else can I get there? And right? Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Because for you, you're more experiential, Kimberly. So you bring your awareness into the inquiry, you empower the integration of what's come to you. So yes.
Yeah, it has to get to this point where things are so uncomfortable and I'm like, no more, but then I have a breakthrough where I see all this misogyny in our community and it's like, whoa, that's not good. Hopefully they can see it too when I get awakened to it. Hopefully.
Well, but it's be clear it's not your concern. The most important thing is for you to recover the lost parts of yourself due to that diminishment, and to bring that into your experience. Maybe that's not the best place to be while you do so that you will be in your own vibration, so that there's nothing around you reinforcing a habit of the diminishment.
Well, I think that,
I agree.
Kimberly, that you're engaged in the inquiry of the parts of you that have lost yourself, where you have lost yourself because of this diminishment, because of the masculine principle. And, last month we did a program I did with Tonya, and we'll do on Friday, November 13th. So it's on the website, and I think you should be getting the mailers, right? Do you get the weekly mailers? Look in there, it says Women in Spirituality. And so we're actually diving into that very thing you're talking about. So, because the point is for all of us, the only way you're going to make a difference is to make a difference with yourself, is to empower yourself by going into those structures that you have taken on unwittingly. It's nobody's fault. It's not even, the male principal's fault. It's just, the structure of the way things are right now. But, you heal yourself first.
Yeah, and I've been doing that last 2 weeks. Just every time, it's like I have a list of things where I have to stand up to people, and it's hard. But it's like when I do it, it gets better.
That's right. Because you're recovering your authority.
You're recovering your authority. That's
the
perfect.
natural authority of the feminine within you that knows the truth different than men can know.
It took a lot, though. I had to take that course with a lot of other women, and because, like I said, I'm not in an environment where I can just naturally hold that, and I'm aware I've got to find a better where I can get that support.
Well, you've got your path, Kimberly. It's perfect.
I'm so glad you came up. So Kimberly, we're going to start some, it'll show up online or through the website or through the app of, we're putting together what we call sister circles to go into the self-inquiry and to support and create a network and a community. So you are totally welcome. So we will, it'll be brought out on the event page. And so you'll be able to see when it's starting up. Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.
All right, next.
Next up is Lena.
Oh, cool.
Hello, Lena. Namaste.
Namaste, Lena. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Yeah, I mostly listen and don't step forward. So yeah, just something pulled me to raise my hand.
Very good.
Yeah. And I think two things popped up. And one thing is what happened to me when I went to or participated in Tonya's challenge. Yeah, I felt, it was the second meeting, and I was talking about my meeting with my husband, that I feel that we can meet very, very beautiful many times now. And when I talked about that in the group, I just felt tears were coming. And then I had this, I don't know really what it was, but I felt so much grief and anger, and I was like, I don't know, bodily orgasms, and I felt it was not really mine. I felt it was collective, and afterwards, I mean, I went to put my kids to bed, and then the day after, it was like, yeah, but it has been there with me, and I don't know, I'm just curious of what
And
might
it
have.
sounds like you've had, whoop, something's wrong here. Hang on a second. Okay, it sounds like there was a surge in the Kundalini, because it often erupts like this, where it's first the negative and then the orgasmic. So there's this volcanic where the rocks and the debris gets exploded out, spewed out, and then the molten lava comes forward. So it's a glimpse, it's an opening, a brief opening. That's what I suspect of a possibility that's not to do directly with your wonderful relationship with your husband. It probably has to do with something of the energy of the program.
Yeah.
The vibration of the program triggered it, because Tonya's Kundalini is very vigorous, so her Kundalini can activate other people's Kundalini. So there you go. There's a little touch of the divine feminine right there.
Yeah.
Get to kind of alert you to it. But these things normally come in glimpses, events that happen that are irrational. They can be totally contradictory. It can come up as a feeling of dread, for example. Like I said something wrong, or I shouldn't have shared that. It can come up as anger and resentment. It can come up with anything that's hidden in the lower chakras before something of its nature can show itself, the nectar of the Kundalini Shakti in the body.
So Lena, what's been your experience since?
I felt, or I have been feeling a huge cleansing in my whole system. And this type of happening has happened one more time or two more times. And then I have these small happenings when I meditate and so forth. But in this sense, I think it happened 2 or 3 times. So there's some cleansing, and I feel more.
Here.
I think it has to do with that, more grounding.
Yes, you're more here.
Yeah, and
okay, so
yeah, I think it is that. Yeah.
So just know that's what it is. This is a real direct experiential program. It's not just a teaching and not just a context and a purpose. It's also transformation. Transformation is a body becoming a different kind of vehicle than what you've known before within the range of human experiences, negative and positive. It opens up to this kind of miraculous capability of it to be an instrument for the current of life to be experienced. So this is the path. Hang on, my dear.
Yeah. I will hang on. For sure.
Ready? Yeah.
I have one more thing, if I can take more space.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just something that I also was a bit I don't know. It resonated when you were talking, Shree, was this whining. I feel like I can come into this whining about being a mother, about being a wife, about having all these roles. So I have too little time for doing my spiritual journey.
Yeah, that's it.
Like
you got
story.
it. There's the whining.
And I can really see it, and I can catch myself when I come into it. But I can also see it that it is affecting me, because sometimes it's hard for me to prioritize, because I feel this enormously longing and urge to just move forward. And sometimes I can see that my family is like in the way, and I know they are not, because they are the ones probably who are developing me mostly.
That's right.
Yeah, I just had to say that as well.
Well, Lena, I want to respond to that. Here's another way to hold this, that you have this longing and you have the family that has come to you as a way for you to walk your journey.
Yeah.
So every moment of every day, that family is giving you an opportunity.
Yeah.
To see.
In a way, I know this, but it's there, like making me whine.
The whining mechanism doesn't shut up easily.
No.
No, it's like,
They're
No.
always looking for something to whine about.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
All
No,
right.
I think it's a great demonstration because this is the toughest thing for women who have awakened on the spiritual path. And it's to awaken to who they are. It's like all these responsibilities and all these attachments we have.
Mm,
And it's learning how to let go of the attachment. Because if there's no attachment, there's no whining.
true.
But
Yeah.
it's a tough one. I mean, that's why I think a lot of women don't go further because, you know, we're earthbound. We're, you know, this is what we're here to do, to give birth to, but we can also be much more.
All right, Lena. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena.
Namaste.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
Okay, next up is Ariana.
Ariana. Namaste.
Namaste, Ariana. Up. You just have to unmute yourself.
Did I do that? I did.
You
Yeah,
got it.
you got it.
Have we met you before?
I've been on a meditation. I've been. I usually don't have my camera on.
Right.
All right.
You're not alone. There's like a third of the group. Where are you from, Ariana? Where are you living?
I'm living in Colorado.
Okay.
Well, I want to talk and I'm afraid to talk. It's all in a mush. But I recently lost my job, and the outside circumstances kind of look like it was my fault. But then on another level, I was told that COVID was going to hit that house and I needed to be out of there. I was living with a family. And sure enough, that happened when I left.
Wow.
Whew.
So, but I came to this place where I just couldn't handle living with where I worked. And I felt like I was being put in my place all the time, and I couldn't talk, you know, just share or have an opinion. And
There's
I've
sadness
had
there. What's
a
this?
lot.
Yes, let's be with the sadness right now.
Throat all the time, like
Yeah.
it's a block in my throat.
Yeah.
And I've had a food addiction my whole life. And I just yesterday committed to letting go of it. And I'm 63. And I feel like, so anyway, I by November 1st, I don't know where I'm going to live. I only have $1,500 left. And there's a way that I'm grateful for that, because it's really forcing me to do what I've wanted to do for a long time and haven't known how to do, which is lay down the ego and just go to God, to source. And what I find is, I think my question is, I spend a lot of time I guess I wanna feel and meditate and get beyond the mind, but because of the fear, and mostly the fear is I had hoped my whole life that by the time this crisis came on the earth, I would be in a different place. I'd be more awake and ready for it. And I feel like I'm not ready for the new. I'm not new. And what the heck can I attract to myself? What's the next thing? So the fear takes over a lot. And so I feel that I need to focus a lot on the truth of using my mind more than transcending the mind and just meditating. I feel like I need to focus on what's true so
Very
that
good.
I don't dissolve into fear. But I also feel that I need to do the meditation as well. So I'll do this concentration type stuff, and then I'll try to just sit as long as possible.
Okay. I mean, that's certainly the beginning. I think what you're coming forward is a prayer. It's a prayer actually to the universe. So I'm receiving your prayer. So it's not too late. That's just a story the mind comes up with. The newness is always this right now, here, always. There's only this. This is the newness. You're in touch with what the blocked is. You've met the things that have kept you in diminishment. You're experiencing it in your body. You have quite a bit of content that you need to learn how to release and to allow and to experience and not create a story around it. Just allow it to be an experience. I encourage you to continue to participate to whatever extent that you need, and to have confidence that the universe is going to show you what you haven't been able to meet with your own effort. It's doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself, which means the World Mother has stepped in and she's going to be taking you on a journey. So it's very good to have a meditation practice, at least 45 minutes twice a day. But the thing to do is to allow your system to come into existence, to be in your body, to feel the emotion, not just as the emotion, not as a story, but an event that's occurring in your body, to just give it its time on the stage of your attention. That will help bring forward in the outer life what will support your inner life.
Okay, thank you.
Mariana. So it's just very good you came forward. This is exactly what to do. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Namaste. All right, we have Kelly.
Yes, Kelly.
And this is going to be the last one, right?
Okay. It's up to Kelly, you're it.
Good to see you again.
So I hope this will be a short question, but when Lena was speaking about kind of the whining of the family and I feel like I'm always coming up here asking the same things over and over again.
Well, one of these days you'll get it.
Everyone's smiling with you.
Yes, we all know how this is. You know, we deal with the same problem again and again until suddenly it's not a problem anymore.
So
how to do this? How do I live a life aligned with my purpose? Right? It shows up just like it's showing up. Where you meet all the resistance, meet all the things that would rather it be different, meet the stuff in yourself that's impatient and would rather have this versus that, the thing in you that just is so tired of how you are you. All enduring calmly, we should just write that in a sticky on your bathroom mirror, because whatever is arising that you don't want to be with is the thing to learn how to be with. Not feeding. When you get yourself in that, whining, then stop. Stop.
So I've been able to catch myself in my whining. It comes out like just anger and rage and frustration with mostly my husband and my son, and most anybody who
happen to be in the view of your attention, right? The cat, the dog, the neighbor, the noisy, whatever, anywhere.
Could be the garbage disposal.
Yeah. So you own it. That's all you got to do. You just got to keep owning it, because this isn't natural. You are becoming something not natural. Whining is natural. Not whining is not natural. So learning how to not whine is actually very uncomfortable, because it shows what's under it, the resentment, the anger. Then it has this whole molten, scary place, which is the shame, the not good enough, the diminishment, the need, the want. So don't miss that. I know you just said something, but
We lost you.
We lost you. We can't hear you. All right, let's see.
I'm sorry. My
right.
son just walked through with his podcast on. So it just is, this is where I am.
Yeah, I got it. So you're unmoored. You're unmoored. You're not tied right now. So you're going this way and that way, right? Whichever way the wind is blowing.
I'm just so tired of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's where you are. It's your life. It's right now. Underneath this deep, more molten stuff. By the way, when it comes up, there's a lot of energy with it. Find a way of expressing yourself. Like go in the room. Mom's going to make a lot of noise. Don't worry about it. And scream. Give it a physical expression. Go and do some vigorous exercise. Something to move the build up energy in your physical body. Because I can see that that's part of what's going on here. So it's good to have a means to exercise your body so that component of the energy field, that because you're awakening your system is awakening. So things aren't staying quiet. You're not able to operate on top of them as you were in the past. So you have to learn to release the energy at the physical component, like just shake it off, right? Dance around, shake it out, yell and scream. I mean, who knows? Your son may put aside his podcast and join you.
I think that one thing we don't speak about that much is the fact that when you do awaken more, that's when the stuff comes up. Before you were able to just like push it down or make an excuse, but
Right.
now that you're awakened to it, it can't hide anymore. So now it's meeting it. And like Shree is like said, is whatever the resistance is to what's coming up. So now you're really in the work. This is when you roll your sleeves up, girl.
Yeah. This is where you learn how to live aligned with your purpose. So how do I live? That's the question. How do I bring this into my life so that I can fulfill my immediate duties and obligations and evolve and use that as the means of me growing and integrating what I'm coming to?
Yeah, because it feels like I'm still in the place of that is just something I have to do and not like the means.
That's right.
In a way, then it becomes an obstacle, and then I just get pissed.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you're the one who creates that context. You're the one who chooses to say, okay, I choose this. I choose you. I choose my husband. I choose my son. I choose these circumstances as my path forward, and watch, because the whining is mostly resistance. It's mostly, I don't wanna, right? So
Of course it
when you
is.
choose it, that act of your consciousness has a power to create a new thing a new possibility for you in your life.
Actually, Kelly, it's where you become your own victim, that you have no say over this. And you actually have all the choice to make. And a lot of it comes from the story of how you as a woman are expected to be. And you may not even know you took that story on, but it's so insidious. It's the culture, it's society, it's everything. So, maybe rewriting the contract with your husband. I don't know. Are you guys still in the city, or are you up? You're in Soto.
We're full time on Donner Summit now.
On Donner Summit. Oh, come on.
You're
like
the neighborhood.
The most beautiful place, too.
Yeah. You're supposed to get some snow, maybe. Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. But my husband goes back to San Francisco every other week, and then I do single parenting, and then there's like a rage.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
I tell you, all of us Westerners, we're entitled. we are crippled in ability to actually grow up.
But I also get it, because wasn't part of the original contract. And it's a big sacrifice your husband and you are making to do this. So give yourself kudos for that. Notice where you become the victim of that.
Yeah.
How old is your son?
He's 6.
So there's no real school, is there?
He's distance learning right now, which is
yeah.
Now, just be thankful you only have one. Universe didn't require you to have 6 kids at this point.
Well, Kelly, I'm glad to know you guys are up at Donner. That's really cool. So maybe someday you can come here.
I know, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
So are
Okay.
we.
All
All
right.
right.
All right, so we really have to wrap up. I want to thank you all for your participation, your attention, and hope to see you all again
Tomorrow.
soon. Yeah, we have another one because these things accumulate,
What are
right?
we doing tomorrow?
It is the stages of the journey. And then,
Ties right into the 4 questions.
yes, so we'll just go for a ride together. We'll see where we end up. Join us if you can. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to sit. We're going to stop. Okay, we just stop. Let's stop, turn off our attention outward, put it inward, inside your body. Be aware of yourself inside your body. Be inside your body. Be here now with this, whatever this is, with you right now as we sit together. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat Shree. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste. Thank you all.